Great. Welcome, everyone. Let me just see. There we go. Perfect. Welcome, everyone. And from my side, thank you very much for joining this Zoom session or webinar, whatever you'd like to call it. My name is Zander. I'll talk a little bit more about myself later, but maybe just one or two practical things before we get this session started. As you probably have seen on screen already, we want to ask that you keep your microphone muted throughout the session. There will be a Q&A session at the end, so please then feel free to unmute your microphone, share your thoughts with us, ask questions. This session really is to make sure that no one leaves here without all their questions being answered, and that's really the purpose of our session tonight. Secondly, also please note that our session will be recorded. And so you're welcome to keep your camera switched off as well if you don't want to be famous. We don't plan on making you a social media star just yet, but just keep that in mind. We'll just be sharing this with everyone who signed up. As many people, as I'm sure all of you would know, load shedding is quite a challenge for us in South Africa. So I've had a few messages of people saying they have load shedding in the slot and they might not be able to make it, but we actually had, I think, 102 signups for this webinar. And so there are many people who won't be able to make it, but we still want to just issue or give them this recording as well after this. And that's basically the main reason we are recording. So basically, with that said, let's not waste a lot more time, but let's get going with our session on online teaching. So I'm sure that there's a very specific reason all of you joined this session today. Maybe you are considering taking up online teaching. Maybe you've already taken the first steps towards becoming an online teacher. What I want to do at the start of our session today is I'm going to launch a poll on Zoom right now, which means on your screen in a few seconds will appear 3 questions. First of which is, why do you want to take up online teaching? You can select one or more of the options. Question number 2 is, where are you in the process? You can select one of those options. And then lastly, how much would you like to earn from online teaching? You're welcome to select one of those options as well. This will just help me to know exactly who are the people that are on the call tonight, so that I would be able to change or adjust my presentation accordingly to make sure that we answer all of your questions. So you should see all of the questions now. I want to please ask you to fill it out and then click submit, as that would give me some idea as to the demographic or the dynamic in tonight's session. So I'm going to give you a few seconds to get that going, and then we will jump into the main part of our session today. All right. Great. So it seems as though most of you have completed it. Quite interesting, actually. So let me just see here. Okay, so about 20%, 25% now of people said that they want to make a career change. 31% said, I want to earn an extra income. 19%, I want more flexibility in my job. And then 53% said, I want to be able to work from anywhere. Question number 2, where are you in the process? So it seems like about 53% of people on the call do not have their TEFL certificates yet, and about 47 already have TEFL certificates, and they are currently looking for jobs. Very good. And then in terms of earnings, it seems like it's nearly tied between 29% of people said they want to earn between 15 and 20,000. and about 24% of people said they want to earn between 25 and 30,000, which is really, really good. Excellent. Thank you for this information, and thank you for asking, or for answering rather, the questions to this poll. Now, with that said, let's get started with our webinar. So what is going to be our main focus in today's webinar? So 4 things we want to focus on. Number 1 is how teaching online works. So a lot of questions that I get from people is, what does it actually mean to be an online teacher? What does your day-to-day look like? Where do classes take place, and all the rest? Secondly, who can become an online English teacher? Meaning a lot of people would often tell me, I haven't taught a single day or a single lesson in my life ever. I don't have a teaching background. Can I actually make a successful career in online teaching? Which you absolutely could and should. Number 3, how much you can earn from teaching online, which is obviously a question that's very important for most people getting into this industry. It was one of my main questions when I started out as well. And then last but not least, where to start? Like, where is the starting point for you? That's really what we want to get through in today's session. So without further ado, I want to share a bit about my own story, as I believe it will give you an idea as to how I ended up where I am. As I mentioned at the start, my name is Zander. I'm from South Africa. I was born and bred in Bloemfontein, where I still live and teach from today. And about 2.5 years ago, at that point, I've been in ministry as a full-time pastor for about 10 years. And so I was quite unfulfilled in my job at that moment. Obviously needed a bit more money as well, but I just really wanted more flexibility and control over what I spend my time on. And so my wife and I decided to take the plunge. I quit my job and I did my TEFL certificate. And on January 22nd, 2021, I taught my very first English lesson. And I remember I put in hours of preparation. I was ready for my lesson, and it was with like a 10-year-old Chinese boy who was 10 minutes late to a 25-minute lesson. He eventually popped up on screen, and I gave it my best introduction that I've ever prepared, only for his mom to jump in and say, listen, you need to slow it down a lot. He has no idea what you're saying. And I remember at that moment feeling like, this is not for me. I'm not going to be an online teacher. I remember after that lesson, I sent my wife a WhatsApp saying, we need to make another plan. I need to find another job. This is not going to work. And she actually gave me the best advice that I have received to date. Okay. She said the following. She told me, just keep teaching until you've made back all the money you spent on becoming an online teacher in the first place, which was the exact amount of time I needed to go from I hate this to I'll survive to I love this. And that's really where I am today. I really love everything about online teaching. I've been able to more than double the income that I've earned in my previous job. I've got a lot of flexibility. We've been able to save and invest a lot of money. We were quite in a bit of debt when I just resigned my job. Today, we have been able to pay off most of that debt. So this is really in all ways, from all perspectives, something that really, really benefits me and my family. And I've seen it over and over again, how people would come and join in some of our programs, and they would walk away with very much a similar story of how online teaching actually enabled them to reach all their goals and just to have more freedom in terms of their career as well. So that's basically how I came to where I am today. In the meantime, over the past year, I have been able to partner with an online school, TEFL Online, and I am currently the regional director of TEFL Online for Africa. And the reason I grabbed hold of this opportunity is because I do believe that as South Africans, we uniquely benefit from becoming online teachers. The reality is you get paid in either US dollar or euro, and the exchange rate to the South African rand is very favorable for us living in South Africa. So if someone in politics or anywhere says or does something stupid, we earn more money and not less, as you would normally working for a South African company. So that's really my vision and what I dream about when I do these kinds of webinars. Now, let's get started as to a bit more information about how online English teaching works. So who will you actually be teaching? Where do your students come from? What will they look like? What would their goals be? First of all, you would obviously be teaching adults. That's your first choice as an online teacher, adults aged 20 to 65 years old, and they have many different reasons for why they want to take English lessons with you. Among some of those reasons are studies. So some of them plan to move overseas to join a university in an English-speaking country, and for that reason, they need to improve their English. Secondly, many of the students that I have and that I've had in the past, the reason they want to improve their English is for work-related reasons. So they're still living in their countries, whether it be Spain, China, Italy, Sweden, but they work for an international company, and therefore they actually need to improve their English to do their job better, or to get a promotion, or they've just been promoted and their boss told them to improve their English. All right. Thirdly, immigration is quite a big reason for why people improve their English. So if someone wants to move from a non-native English-speaking country to a native English-speaking country, they need to complete an English exam. And I think about between 2 and 3 million people every year complete these kinds of exams just to go and live in an English-speaking country. And they need someone to help them improve their English and to help them prepare for these exams and pass those exams. In fourth place, we've got travel. Lots of people just want to improve their English because they want to travel. They want to travel abroad, take some holidays, and they want to be able to get around on holiday in English comfortably. And then last but not least, you'll also find some students who just learn the English language as a hobby. So it's really all over the place, and there are many reasons these people want to improve their English. Your second group is obviously children, children aged 5 to 18 years old. And their main reason is for improving their English is school, because they take English as a subject at school and they're struggling. But I would say probably one of the most important reasons many children learn English is because their parents want them to. Their parents want a better life for them. They want them to have the option to move abroad when they grow up, when they graduate from high school. They want to be able to live overseas or find a job overseas. And this is, there's quite a strong drive from the parents' side for their kids to actually learn and improve their English. And then also immigration is also a big part here. If they themselves want to immigrate after school, or in some cases, or actually in many cases, they have already immigrated with their parents, and now they need to work at improving their English as well. So that's sort of the demographic of the kind of student you would meet as an online teacher. Now, secondly, the platform. So where would you actually find students to teach? Okay, first of all, and one of the most popular places are online schools or academies. So if an adult or a child wants to improve their English, often they would go online and find an English school or an English academy, which are often located in non-native speaking countries, and they employ mostly native English speaking teachers to teach their children. So they could go on there, they pay a set fee, and they basically, the school would pay you to teach their clients. So you don't have a whole lot of control in terms of what you get paid. You don't have a lot of control in terms of working directly with your client, building relationship with them. And that's where freelance platforms come in. You have a whole lot more control on freelance platforms in terms of setting your own hourly rate. So you tell them, I charge you $15 or $16 an hour to teach you. You have the opportunity to build a very close relationship with your clients or your students. And they also can book lessons based on your availability, which really favors us as online teachers on the freelance side of things. And then last but not least, what often happens is that once you start teaching your own students on these freelance platforms, oftentimes you'll find that they start referring friends and family to you. I've had a lot of those over the past few months where I get private students, meaning you completely cut out the middleman. There's no commission payable to a freelance platform or a school, but actually you get to keep all of the money that you earn from teaching that specific student. Okay, so that's platforms, all right? in terms of your lesson, so the content, so one concern that I often get from people who want to become online teachers is, listen, I've never taught in my life. I don't have a teaching background at all. I don't know grammar. I can tell you when something is wrong. I can't tell you why something is wrong. And that's perfectly normal. And I used to be at the same place when I got started. But most of the time, your lessons will be one-on-one. Sometimes it would be in small groups. Most of the students I have found and met on freelance platforms are looking for a conversation. They're not looking for someone that would be the teacher in the traditional sense of the word. And that's something that I want to make clear from the get-go, is that we all have a very specific idea of what being a teacher means, meaning we refer back to our time at school or at university. And this is so far removed from that picture. This is much more like a partnership, a conversation where you help the student by pointing out their mistakes, and you also get to correct them and help them improve. But most of the time, it actually happens in the context of a conversation, which is really nice because it doesn't mean that you need specialist knowledge from the get-go. So secondly, some students might require you to give them some grammar pointers and give them some explanations as to why something is right and why something is wrong. Thirdly, and this is something that's quite popular as well, you would find that students would book a lesson with you to help them with task-related things they need to do in their job, such as presentations, leading or participating in meetings, interviews. So they might say that, listen, I've got a big conference coming up. I need to prepare a presentation. Please help me listen to my presentation. Give me some advice as to which sentences, phrases I need to use. Or I'm going for an interview. Can I practice with you? And can you give me some pointers on how to go through my interview and actually ace it? And then last but not least, exam preparation. This is something that's a bit of a niche in the world of online teaching, which means you can make a lot more money from teaching exam preparation. And these kinds of exams are the ones that I referred to earlier, where a student needs to immigrate to an English-speaking country and they need to pass this exam in order to be able to do that. And you can develop a specialization where you help them prepare for that specific exam. So that's basically the content of what most of your lessons will be. I would say conversational and task-related are the two most common ones that I have found in my experience and in the experience of other teachers. Now, your classroom. So where will these lessons take place? Well, in reality, in the convenience of your own home or your office or wherever you choose to do it from. I've actually worked with teachers who actually teach from restaurants or from the beach, and they travel the world, and every 3 months they're in a different country and they teach online to fund that kind of lifestyle, which is great as well. When you look at online schools, most of them would have private online classrooms. They would train you during the onboarding process on how to use those platforms. Apart from that, very common platforms to use are Skype, Zoom, Google Meet, and these are platforms that most of us are familiar with in any way. All right, so your hours. Another question that I get quite frequently is, would I have to work at what I call ungodly hours? Do I need to wake up at 2 a.m. in the morning? Do I need to stay up until midnight? Not at all. Okay, I have been teaching online for about just over 2 years now, and I have never started a lesson earlier than I think 6 a.m. and I've never taught a lesson later than 9 p.m. Today, my earliest lesson in the day actually starts at 7 o'clock, and then my final lesson normally ends at around, my latest one rather, ends at around 7 p.m. At night. But again, you choose. You can choose what times you want to teach, which hours you avail yourself for students. Now, the great thing about the South African time zone is the fact that when you look at Asia, which is quite a big market for us as online teachers, that includes Japan, China, Vietnam, Taiwan, those kinds of Asian countries. They generally are between 5 to 7 hours ahead of us, which means that most of the time when an adult or a child wants to take lessons, it's normally after school or after work. So for example, if they take a lesson with you at, let's say, 5 p.m. their time, that's 10 a.m. in the morning South African time. So it just works brilliantly. In terms of the European context, which is also quite a big market for us as South African teachers, for 6 months in the year, we've got the exact same time zone as Europe. And for the other 6 months, they're 1 hour behind us. So it really works out well that you can work between 8 and 5 in the day without needing to get up very early or stay up late. All right. So I want to maybe show you some examples of the classrooms that I have had over the past few years. This lesson was specifically with a group of students, some of which are from Russia. We've got someone from Poland as well as China in this group. And here we had a group discussion about working abroad. Okay, if you like working abroad, are you working abroad? Flexibility in your job. So this was 100% conversational. On the next picture, you will see another student from Brazil. She's now living in Amsterdam, and she is a social media marketing manager. All right. And so one of the exercises we did in our lesson is I told her to look at one of my Facebook posts and actually improve it and come up with something creative, which is what we did here. I gave her some feedback as to the phrases and the language used in her post on this page. On the next page, we have a student from Spain who actually works for Vodafone. And here he is busy showing me the tickets from all the concerts he has watched in his lifetime. So some bands like Bon Jovi, Coldplay, Metallica, AC/DC. This was quite a fun conversation. So as you can see, these conversations generally are around things that are happening in their lives. It's like normal conversation. It's not like I'm the teacher with a whiteboard teaching them. It's very two-directional and a lot of fun, as you would see on the next picture. One of my rowdy students in my class, one of my students from Germany, introduced her dog to me, and we tried to do an assessment of his English level, which didn't go very well. So if one of you gets into online teaching and you specialize in teaching these young fellas, please let me know. He's still looking for a teacher to this day. But that's just to give you an idea of what the online classroom really looks like and how much fun it really is to be an online teacher, especially in these days. Now, how much will you earn? Another question that I get a lot: how much money can I make from online teaching? So when you look at, as I mentioned earlier, the two approaches that we generally have is online schools, and then we also have the freelance platforms. When we look at online schools specifically, the starting rate for a teacher with no experience is generally between $8 and $10, which is about 182 Rand per hour that you earn, which means if you work 10 hours a week, you can earn just over 7,000 Rand a month. If you work 20 hours per week, you can earn 14,500 Rand a month. If you work 30 hours per week, you can earn just over 21,000 Rand a month. The median rate at the moment, meaning the average rate for online English teachers in South Africa at the moment is about $13 an hour, which means at around 236 Rand per hour, which means if you work 10 hours per week, you earn 9,500. If you work 20 hours per week, you earn just short of 19,000 Rand per month. If you're working 30 hours per week, you're earning just over 28,000 Rand per month. So this is for rates when working at a school. All right. Now, on the freelance side of things, the average rate for freelance teachers at this point in time is $17.5 per hour, which is at around 370 or 317 rather Rand per hour, which means if at that rate you work 10 hours per week, you actually end up earning 12,700 Rand per month. If you work 20 hours per week, you earn just over 25,000 Rand per month. And if you work 30 hours per week, you earn just short of 40,000 Rand per month. So as you can see, due to the fact that you earn money in US dollar, it actually translates really nicely to South African Rand, even if you choose to do this part-time as a South African, it can be really, really profitable for you. Now, the average earnings for South Africans, and this is statistics from 2 years ago, from 2021, was that the average TEFL teacher in South Africa earns between 15 and 28,000 Rand per month. So this is 2 years ago, and from all of our students that I've seen before, it's actually grown quite significantly from these numbers to at around, I would say, 20 to 35,000 Rand per month on average for South African teachers. All right, so here are a few of the teachers that have completed our program recently. This is Angus. He did our program, I believe, in, was it September of last year? He's doing this full-time as a full-time teacher on this one platform only. Angus already has 21 active students with almost 300 lessons completed. Next up is Desi, who completed our mentorship or our course and mentorship program last year. And she already has 46 active students just on this one platform. She's taught just over 1,200 lessons thus far. Next up is Pepe, who were one of the first people to do our mentorship program. And she now on this platform alone has 23 active students with just short of 1,400 lessons taught to date. And as you can see, her current hourly rate is $19 per hour that she's earning. Next up is Allison. She's doing it part-time. She's not doing this full-time, and she has on a part-time basis 14 active students with just over 300 lessons taught, and she is earning a whopping $25 per hour as a South African TEFL teacher. Next up, Deline. She actually completed our program in November of last year, 2022, and she is doing this part-time, and she's at 19 active students at the moment, having taught 172 lessons thus far. Next up, Quibus, who also completed our programs, has 12 active students on this platform only and have taught over 560 lessons thus far. Last but not least, Manette completed our program in November last year. She currently has 17 active students, having taught 73 lessons. She's doing this less than part-time at the moment. She has a full-time job, and she's earning or charging $10 per hour at this moment. So those are a few of the people that have recently completed our programs and are really, really experiencing success in their careers as online teachers. Now, what I want to do at this point, I'm busy wrapping up our presentation, and I'm sure there are some questions. So I want to ask you, please, at this point, the questions you have right now, you are more than welcome to write them in the chat, or you can keep them for a little bit later and actually unmute yourself and ask some questions, but you're welcome to prepare in the meantime for the Q&A session at the end. So who can become an online teacher? Another very, very common question I often get is people telling me, I don't have a background, don't have experience, would I make it? So basically anyone who speaks English fluently, okay? Anyone who enjoys working with people, and anyone who has a laptop or computer with a webcam and an internet connection. If you tick all three of those boxes, then you can become an online English teacher, regardless of your background. In fact, your background actually is relevant to your teaching as an online teacher, as you will find when you start teaching online, okay? And to prove this, I actually looked at just a short list of some of the people that have gone through our program very recently. And I actually reached out to them to just refresh my memory in terms of what their background was prior to entering the world of online teaching. And it turns out we have helped lawyers, nurses, teachers, real estate agents, financial professionals, salespeople, occupational therapists, pastors, secretaries, IT professionals, graphic designers, stay-at-home moms, single parents, retirees, university students, project managers, to name but a few. So regardless of your background, this is something that you can benefit from. In fact, the reality is the students that you will be working with, the majority of them would probably fall into one of these categories. And I've seen it time and time again, how people from one of these specific backgrounds actually end up teaching someone that's in that industry, which makes your background and that your knowledge of that industry quite useful, in fact. And once again, you can do this full-time or part-time. It really depends on your needs and your goals. Now, where should you start? Okay, so the starting point is for at least 50% of you, as you mentioned in the poll at the beginning. For those of you who do not yet have your TEFL certificate, that would be step number one, as the TEFL certificate is the international minimum requirement for you to become an online teacher. Okay, number two would be to create your resume or your CV and your introduction video. Number three would be to apply for jobs, and number four would be to start teaching. So very simple steps. So how can we help you to do this? Okay, I have significant experience in online teaching, but more specifically in helping people launch their careers as online teachers. All right, so what we offer you at TEFL Online, number one, is step number one, which is your TEFL certification, which is internationally recognized, and it's accredited by two institutions, the OTTSA as well as the CPD, who are located in the UK, and they are internationally recognized at all schools and freelance platforms you will be applying to. Secondly, we offer a mentorship program. This is really what sets us apart from all other TEFL course providers. Is I've spoken to so many people who would tell me, Zander, I completed my TEFL certificate with a different company. They didn't help me to find a job. How do I go about finding a job? And this is really where we are set apart, okay? We don't only get you to a point of being a qualified online teacher, we get you to be a working online teacher, which means we take you all the way, okay? From your qualification, and we put you in a 3-week mentorship program after your qualification, where we help you to put together your CV, your introduction video. We practice the interview in our sessions. We actually show you what to do when you get your first student. And then lastly, we refer you to a long list of schools as well as freelance platforms where our teachers are currently working and where we've seen great success being reached in the past. Third thing we offer is a resource library. So once you become an online teacher, you start teaching, now you need lesson materials, you need resources, and we actually have a whole library of a few hundred lessons that you can actually use in order to teach your students. And then last but not least, something that we really pride ourselves in is lifetime support. So once you complete any of our courses, you get added to a community, okay, which comes in the form of, first and foremost, a WhatsApp group with about 200 to 250 other teachers, as well as recruiters on that group, which means that if the schools of these recruiters start hiring people, we are often the first to know and to take advantage of those opportunities and to pass them on to you. We also have some Facebook community groups where you can ask questions, and really, this gives you a boost in your career and provides you support up until the point of getting a job, earning money, and even beyond that point, which is really helpful to many teachers. Now, our TEFL course, just to briefly give you an overview, the TEFL course would give you, as an unexperienced teacher, everything you need to become an experienced teacher. So if you don't know, how do I even teach a language? How do I teach grammar? I don't know grammar myself. This is what we provide you in the TEFL course. We teach you how to teach a new language. We show you strategies, techniques to teach people grammar, to teach people speaking, listening, reading, writing. We help you on how to create effective lesson plans, and we also help you to evaluate your students' progress effectively. Our mentorship program, which is subsequent to your 120-hour TEFL course, focuses on everything you need to actually start working. So there we bridge the gap between being a qualified tutor and being a working tutor, actually earning money, as we focus on resumes, cover letter, introduction video, applying for jobs, interviews, and basically everything you need and more. Now, our packages that we currently offer you, okay? So in terms of our complete packages, which gives you everything you need to go from nothing to actually working as an online teacher, we've got 3 options for you. The budget option is the standard 120-hour course, which includes your 120-hour TEFL certificate and a self-study mentorship program, which means you'll be watching recordings and following the action points in order to find you a job. The second option is our professional 120-hour online teacher package, which is our most popular one, as this includes your qualification as well as the live face-to-face guided mentorship program. We run 2 mentorship groups every month with 4 people per group, and I actually look at your specific background, your experience, your qualifications, and I help you to word all of that in your resume. I look at your introduction video, I comment on your performance in an interview and all of that. So you get a lot of personal attention included in this program. Then our premium program is the advanced 150-hour online teacher, where you get your qualification, the live guided mentorship program. And lastly, we also include something especially for teachers who feel like you would like to just gain some more experience before you actually start teaching students. We included a 30-hour practicum in that course, where you actually have the opportunities to teach students from all over the world. They know you are a teacher in training, so it's a very low pressure environment where you can make the mistakes you need to make and actually gain some valuable experience from that. Now, for those people who have already completed their TEFL certificates, we've got some options for you as well if you wanted to enroll in the career guidance, so the mentorship program, meaning you have your TEFL certificate, you haven't found a job yet, what now? So we offer our mentorship program. In the first one, the standard career mentorship program, that gives you access to the recordings. So not the live face-to-face mentorship program, but you get all the information that candidates in that program would normally get. The second option is once again our more popular one, where you actually get the live face-to-face mentorship engagement with me. And you also get a specialist exam preparation course. So as I mentioned earlier, if you want to get into the speciality or the niche of helping people to prepare for exams to immigrate, this we include one of those courses in there for you as well, which by the way is also included in the standard career mentorship. And then our previous or our premium advanced career mentorship program includes your live face-to-face mentorship program, the career mentorship, as well as the exam specialist exam preparation course. And this one then also includes, I believe, the practicum as well, if I'm not mistaken. Let me just quickly. No, this one, I don't believe includes that one. Or it does, yes, my apologies. It does include the practicum as well. So these are some of the packages that we offer at this moment. You can find all of this on our website and read more on all of those courses as well. Now, for all the people that attended this training session today, as well as for those people actually watching the recording of the session today, we offer all of you a 10% discount on any of our courses if you enroll by midnight on the 8th of March, which is next week, Wednesday. If you enroll before then, you get a 10% off of any of our courses just by using the promo code PROMO23 at checkout. All right, now we've got a few different payment methods for you to take advantage of. We've got EFT, we've got credit card, and then we also have a payment plan for those people who are maybe under financial pressure and you want to buy your course and pay for it in 3 installments. So your first payment there would be 50%, second one 25%, and then your third payment another 25%, all 1 month after one another. And we do add a 7% interest on your course fee for that specific option, but we want to make sure you don't miss out on one of our courses because you can't pay the full amount in one go. All right, now with that said, here are my contact details on the screen right now. You're welcome to take a screenshot, write it down. If you have any other questions, that may be something that you feel I didn't address in our course, maybe for those people who already have their TEFL certificate, you want to develop a niche, we do have courses in specialized exam preparation and all the rest. But if there's anything that you feel like you've got more questions about, you can either ask those questions now, or you can have a conversation with me either via phone or email. You will also see our website, www.etfonline.co.za on the screen. That's where you will find all our courses. You can purchase the courses online and enroll for them there as well. All right, so it feels like I just did a Sunday sermon. So I'm going to stop speaking now, and I'm going to take some questions at this point. And I do see that we have a few questions in the chat already. So let me address the ones in the chat first. Okay, so Elida asks, is there still opportunities to teach and earn at present? Absolutely. Very good question. A very common misconception that we often get is people say that there aren't any opportunities, the market is saturated, all of that, which is simply not true. In my personal experience, I literally have to reject students on a weekly basis because my schedule is absolutely full. But above and beyond that, what I started doing in December of 2021 is to specifically to disprove this myth, is every 6 weeks, I apply to a random new company I can find online using my resume, my introduction video. And every single time I get invited to an interview, and after that, I get the job. I never take the job because my schedule is completely full at the moment, but I do want to go through the application process, the interview process, and the onboarding process, just to make sure that there still are opportunities out there and to sort of disprove the myth that the market is absolutely saturated. And when I go through those experiences, I pass those companies on to all of you in the mentorship program so that you can benefit from working at those companies as well. Grace said or asked, can I have more than one different student for one-on-one teaching at a time? I'm not sure I understand your question correctly. So you can have as many students as you have time for. So meaning you can work at a school for 10 hours a week. You can work for another school for another 10 hours a week. You can work on a freelance platform for another 10 hours a week. Whatever you like to do, whatever you have time and capacity for, you can do that. And you can have students that prepare for, so for example, right now I have about 32 students at the moment. Some of them I prepare for exams. Some of them is just conversation. Some of them I help prepare for interviews. It's all over the place. You can have many different students for many different purposes, just based on your availability and your expertise as well. Carol Gripper asks, how do you get a job as a freelance teacher? Well, that's exactly what we address in the mentorship program. One of our main focuses there is on freelance platforms. Okay, so I consider myself to be quite a specialist when it comes to freelance platforms. So I show you everything about them. I show you the back end, the front end. I show you exactly how to manipulate the algorithm to get booked quicker, and I show you exactly how to approach freelance platforms. I love freelance platforms. About 75% of my income is all from freelance platforms, and I'm quite experienced in them as well. So, but I go through all of that in our mentorship program. Then Jan Venter, payment, PayPal, SA Bank tax deduction. Okay, so payments, depending on the school, some schools pay directly into your SA Bank account. Some schools pay you via PayPal, which you then can withdraw to FNB, I believe, which is quite simple and very low fees as well. Tax deduction, the amazing thing about being an online teacher in South Africa is the number of things you can actually deduct from tax. So seeing as I'm working from home, I can deduct a certain percentage of my home loan or rent from tax. I can deduct a certain percentage of the salary I pay our cleaning lady. I can deduct a certain percentage of my internet, my cell phone, any technology device that you purchase related to online teaching, that's tax deductible. So I can deduct a percentage of my electricity as well as water bill, as well as rates and taxes. So there's so much you can deduct. My recommendation is to find a tax practitioner that would give you more specific advice on your situation. But I've now had 2 runs of paying provisional tax, and it's been an absolute joy to see how much I can deduct from tax. So really, there are a lot of things. Carol Gripper, again, are there platforms that you can suggest? So I'm not going to suggest it on these platforms. There are quite a few. The reason I'm not going to suggest them on here is because I don't want people to apply there if I don't help you with your resume, your introduction video, because knowing exactly what these platforms need is really what determines your success on those platforms. So we've had quite a few people who went on their own and applied to these platforms, then would come back and say, listen, I'm not getting through, not getting students. And that's the problem. That's why I would keep coming back to the mentorship program. We give you everything you need to know and more in understanding how freelance platforms work and positioning yourself in such a way that you get a lot of success from freelance platforms. Stacy says, I'm new. I would like to start teaching. How much is the mentorship? I'm currently working in a full-time job. Would I start teaching part-time at first? So you can definitely start teaching part-time first. We have a lot of people coming through our programs that want to start out part-time. And we've had people who started out part-time. Eventually, they loved it so much, they quit their jobs and did it full-time. So you can absolutely do that, not a problem. The mentorship program as a standalone, if you just want the face-to-face live mentorship program, that is 1,999. So 2,000 Rand for that. And then obviously seeing as you're on this webinar, you get 10% discount on that one if you book it before next week, Wednesday. And actually, if you book it by Monday, you can actually start on Tuesday. So 2 of our March mentorship groups start on Tuesday afternoon and evening. So you can choose, do you want to join afternoon or evening? And we still have 2 spots left in one of our groups for March. So if you purchase the course before then, you can still join this month's mentorship program. Then Shuno says how long to complete a course. So your 120-hour TEFL course is 120 hours. So it's completely self-study. So you can decide how long it takes you. So we've had people completing that course in 2 or 3 weeks. We've had people who take up to 5 or 6 months. We do put a limit of 6 months. You cannot take longer than 6 months to complete it, but it depends. If you're doing it part-time, it might take you a bit longer. I think I completed mine in 4 weeks, doing it fairly full-time. So, but it's totally self-study. The mentorship group is only a 3-week program that we run with 2 1.5-hour sessions per week. So it's also not very time-consuming in that regard. Carol says, hi, do we need a degree from a university in order to work online through you? Absolutely not. No, you don't need it at all. You can just, I think even if you don't have a matric certificate, you can still enroll for one of our courses. So a degree, a university degree is not necessary at all. Grace says, I'm a Namibian. Will I get good opportunities too with Asia companies easily? There aren't many Namibian English online teachers I know. Yes, absolutely. There's no reason why you as a Namibian would not get an opportunity or teaching opportunities easily. Again, as long as you are fluent in English, you've got an understandable accent, which I assume you do, there should be no other problems hindering you from getting a job, especially in the Asian market, and definitely not in the European market either. Okay. Carol says, thank you for your answer. Appreciate. You're more than welcome, Carol. Carol also asked, how do you apply to do the mentorship program? So Carol, if you want the standalone mentorship program, I can send you a link for that. So maybe can I ask you to just quickly send me either a WhatsApp message or an email. I'll put my email address on the screen again. Quickly send me an email and just ask for the link to the standalone mentorship program, which is not on our website. But if you only want the standalone mentorship program, you don't want the exam preparation course, you're welcome to send me an email. I will quickly send you the link to that specific course afterwards. Oh, and Nal posted the link there. Yeah, but as I said, Carol, the standalone mentorship is not on there, but you can just email me and I'd send it to you. Christian asks, do you need to create your own curriculum for the students, or is there a set plan that you follow in the context of both working for an online platform and private lessons? Very good question, Christian. So for online schools, they provide you with all the materials you need. So you just need to prepare what they give you to prepare. So know for the online schools I work for, it takes me about 4 minutes to prepare for a lesson because they give you everything you need. For freelance platforms, you need to prepare your own lessons. However, most freelance platforms actually have their own resource libraries for you to take advantage of. So there are hundreds of lessons on there that you can use to your advantage. Again, if you do one of our courses at TEFL Online, you also get access to our resource library with another couple of hundred lesson plans in there, which you can benefit from. So I've been teaching online for 2 years. I've never spent a single rand on any lesson materials, as there's plenty to choose from out there for free. Yvonne, is it possible to get a class of students to teach online, or must it be on site? No, so none of this that we're talking about tonight is on site. This is all online. Okay, so this is completely online. Obviously, when you get your TEFL certificate, you also would be qualified to go overseas and actually teach in countries such as China or European countries, things like that. But the context of tonight's discussion is all of online, not in person. Carol says, Zander, I know a few people who'd like to teach online, but were not able to be here today. How can they contact you personally? So you can take a screenshot of my contact details. I'm also going to be sending out this recording to everyone that registered for this webinar. So if you receive the recording, you are more than welcome to forward it to them. If they want to have a private conversation with me, they're welcome to WhatsApp me or give me a call on my phone number that's on the screen, or send me an email at zander@etfonline.com. Then Michelle Tate, how about if you have a TEFL and TESOL? Do you mean what's the next step? If that's your question, I would recommend enrolling for our mentorship program, because that bridges the gap between I have my qualification, what now? I actually want to start working. So the mentorship program is basically aimed at helping you to bridge that gap and to find jobs and start earning money as soon as possible. As I mentioned earlier, we still have 2 spots left for our March mentorship groups, which start on Tuesday. So if you enroll before then, you would be still be able to get a spot to do that program in March. And you are welcome to go onto our website that's on screen to enroll for one of those courses. Again, if you want to enroll only for the standalone mentorship program without the exam preparation course included, send me an email and I'd quickly send you the link to enroll for that as well. Grace says, I have 0 experience with children. Is this a requirement for companies with children looking for teachers? Great question, Grace. So it's not a requirement that you need to have experience. It helps if you do. But for example, when I started teaching, I first started teaching children and I had no experience. So this again is where the mentorship group comes in. I help you to word the experience you do have in such a way that you convince the recruiters that you have what it takes to teach their students, whether they be adults or children. So it's not a requirement at all, and we help you to get around that in the mentorship program. Carol, should they use this email address? Yes, that's the right email address. Yes, thank you, Annelle, for posting that on there. Sorry to ask again, so many people say you can't work online if you don't have a degree. I do have a degree myself, but I have friends who don't and want to find teaching jobs online. So yet another myth, okay? This is, I have worked for roughly about 14 schools and 3 freelance platforms over the past 2 years. Only 2 of those schools required a degree. The rest did not require you to have a degree. So not at all. There are some schools that do require it, but they're definitely in the minority. And then the final question we have here, does the 1,999 mentorship program help introduce us to the freelance platforms? Yes, it does. It helps you, it introduces you to online schools and freelance platforms, which is the strategy that we follow at TEFL Online to diversify your income as an online teacher. We help you get jobs with schools and to set up on freelance platforms. And the mentorship program focuses on both of these elements. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are already over time. I'm going to give another 30 seconds if there are any other final questions. You're welcome to unmute yourself and ask the question live on the session, or again, you can type it in the chat. Let's see if there are any final questions before we wrap up our session today. Grace, how long is the live mentorship program? So Grace, the live mentorship program runs over 3 weeks with 2 sessions per week. The sessions are roughly an hour to an hour and a half long. Normally on Tuesdays and Thursdays, there's one option in the afternoon, one in the evening that you can choose from for 3 weeks. So a total of 5 to 6 sessions, 2 per week over 3 weeks. And then you're done with the mentorship program. Anyone else? Going, gone. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, I really want to thank you very much for joining this session. I apologize for going over time a bit. I really do hope that all your questions have been answered. If they haven't been answered, please feel free to contact me on either my email address or on my phone number. I'd be happy to have a conversation with you about this. If you need more answers. What I will do, actually, I'm going to spend another 5 minutes on this call for anyone who wants to stay behind and maybe ask 1 or 2 more questions. But then with that said, this is the conclusion of our live webinar. I wish you all a very, very nice Friday evening and have a great weekend. And I hope to talk to you soon. Bye-bye, everyone.